Joe Biden battles the teleprompter and loses. San Francisco celebrates the opening of a very expensive public toilet, and the Clear expedited airport service is racist. It's time to crown my losers of the week. Then, squatters, losers, and freeloaders are free to run their scam in some cities and states, but not if my next guest, the self-proclaimed squatter hunter, has anything to say about it. Flash Shelton joins me later. The show starts in just a few, but first a message from our sponsors. You know, despite everything the Fed has been trying, we are still feeling the effects of inflation. Filling up your car, grocery shopping, home repairs, everything is more expensive, and most of you are paying these bills with a credit card. Credit card debt is at an all-time high, and if you're a homeowner, there is a way out. You need to call my friends at American Financing because they can put together a plan to pay off that high-interest credit card debt and create meaningful savings for you every month. They are saving people just like you an average of $854 a month and closing in as fast as 10 days. Don't wait. Get yourself into a better position. Call their salary-based mortgage consultants today. It costs nothing to get started. And if you start today, you could delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you greater savings up front. American Financing can help get that monkey off your back. 866-890-8585. That's 866-890-8585, or visit AmericanFinancing.net. So it's been a rough week for, well, Earth, as pro-terror mobs have taken over college campuses, city streets, and the Democrat base. They are all losers, but they have some company. So it's time for my losers of the week. First up is a return favorite, Joe Biden. You know, I wasn't sure he could one-up his performance last week wherein he told the tall tale of Uncle Bossy and the cannibals, but he sure tried. There wasn't just one moment this week that made Joe look like a jackass. There were several. I am now convinced his staff and aides hate him because they actually posted this campaign ad of sorts, I think, to his official Twitter. It, of course, had to be closed captioned for obvious reasons.
We'll teach Donald Trump and extreme MAGA Republicans a valuable lesson. Don't mess with the women of America.
Oh, you heard Joe. Don't mess with the women of America. I'm not sure what a woman is, but maybe a new gender, LGBTQ plus M, I suppose. But given Joe and Democrats have literally nothing positive to campaign on, they have decided to go all in on abortion. Joe took that fight to Florida this week where literally tens of people showed up to support him.
I think Florida's in play nationally. And, you know, you wouldn't know it from what you're reading here, but, you know, we're in pretty good shape in the polls.
Florida is, in fact, not in play nationally, but oblivious Joe lives in another world, and in that world, he still can't get the hang of the teleprompter.
Imagine what we can do next. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years.
Joe is the human definition of the word pause. But from brain farts to bathrooms, loser 2 this week is the unveiling and the celebration of a public toilet in San Francisco. Now, this isn't just an ordinary toilet, folks. It's been a highly anticipated and rightfully mocked public toilet, given it was supposed to cost $1.7 million to build. But rest assured, good taxpayers of San Francisco, after donations, it only cost about $300,000. Worth it?
There's a new public restroom in San Francisco's Noe Valley. So why are we talking about it? It's worth $1.7 million. You heard that right. It cost the city about $300,000 after 2 companies donated materials and installation. But still, it's a $1 million toilet. And it sparked major backlash, even prompting Governor Newsom to pause some state funding. He later released money back into the city after officials promised to build more public restrooms. The project put a spotlight on how difficult and expensive it can be to build in the city.
Is it really a wonder that a recent state audit found California failed to effectively track where $24 billion in funding for the homeless crisis has gone and what it's actually done to improve the problem? Oh, I wish I was surprised. That public toilet is sure nice, but people will still no doubt continue to poop on the streets. But just in case you thought with all the protests this week that New York was surpassing the Golden State in idiocy, loser 3 this week is also out of California. You know, the left likes to label everything as racist. Alarm clocks, exercise, sports teams, food brands, I mean, damn near everything. But here's a new one for you. The clear lane at the airport. New legislation put forth in California would ban the expedited security screening company Clear from state airports because some Democrats think it's not equitable for poor people. Yes, proponents of this stupid-ass bill say that paying extra to get through airport security faster benefits wealthy people, and Clear has some equity issues. Clear costs $189 a year, and some credit cards offer it as a free perk, but those details have gone right over the heads of the liberal social justice warriors. But you know, if we're going to go there, there are a lot of things that need to be banned, starting with airplane tickets, which are also too expensive for some people, and therefore not equitable. In fact, ban most everything in Biden's America that's become unaffordable, or maybe just make it all free. That'll do it. That'll fight racism. Pretty soon, they're going to tell us that having to show identification is racist and oppressive. Oh, wait, they already say that about voter ID. Imagine that. Folks, my head hurts trying to understand liberals, so let's just leave it there. Those are my losers of the week. But I have a feeling my head is still going to hurt because the next topic on the docket today is squatters' so-called rights. While some states like Florida and possibly Georgia have made moves to end this scam, others are fine allowing freeloaders to run rampant on the property of others. And these freeloaders have been abusing the system for, well, quite some time. But just for giggles, let's hear the perspective of one of those squatters from a decade ago.
If I left my house, say for a month
and a half,
you think you would be entitled to move in there?
Well,
take my stuff?
Well, it's a lot of, I'm not the only one that is squatting. It's a lot of other people on the block, if you want to be technical, you know, and a lot of people encouraged me to do what I'm doing now.
But she wants her place back.
Yeah, but I had put a lot of work in here, and I spent a lot of money. I am on a fixed income.
Is that power hooked up legit there?
My power is...
That's not legit.
It's not legit.
No, you stealing a bit of power.
I am blessed.
What do you do for a living?
I receive Social Security. I don't have
What
no
happened?
secrets.
Disability?
Yes.
What's your ailment?
I'm not going to say.
You know, that's her right. That's...
Oh, Lord. Well, it's a good thing people like my next guest have answered the call to put an end to it. He is the squatter hunter, Flash Shelton. All right, Flash, I am very excited to talk to you because this is a growing issue in America. We know that Florida has put an end to it, something that you were a part of. Other states looking to follow suit. I don't know why every red state doesn't do what Florida's done, but maybe slowly but surely as these issues are getting more national attention, we'll get there. But I know that you have kind of a personal story with this, as most people do. They get into, you know, some kind of work like this. So please tell me how this all started for you becoming the squatter hunter.
Yeah, first of all, it needs to be every state. I mean, this should be a nation problem. This has nothing to do with politics. You know, I got into this basically being vulnerable like everyone else. My father had passed away. I was taking care of my mom, moved her in with me to sell her home. And I got a report that some people broke in the back door of her house and, you know, I called the sheriff like everyone. And then I heard the words that everyone fears, every homeowner fears, that it's a civil matter and that there's nothing they could do. So I just decided after learning about squatters and all the horror stories that everyone goes through that I was just going to figure out a system myself. I was going to break it down, find the loopholes. And I just figured out that if they could take a house, I could take a house. And I informed them I was their squatter and they could leave with their furniture or without.
So tell me how that works so people can get a good visual of that. I mean, what you do is you really turn it back on the squatter and you, like you said, you find the loopholes. But it's really interesting to me, like the ins and outs of how you do this and how you pull one over on people that pull one over on you. So go through what that looks like, what your strategy is, so that people can really get a good idea of exactly how you're doing this.
So I start every situation with a Zoom consult. I learn everything that I possibly can from the homeowner. I get a lease, so to make me the legal tenant of the property. Also separating the homeowner from the situation, because it's important to know that a homeowner cannot do this. In most states, they will actually be arrested for doing this. So, once I become the legal tenant, then I, will use that if a tenant has a lease, or, then we can kind of fight lease to lease. But I do everything I can to prepare, find out who they are, find out all about them. Do they have anything to lose? Do they have a job? Do they have a criminal record? And then we will do surveillance and see if they have a routine. And when they leave the house, or if they leave the house, we'll actually switch places with them and become their squatter, put cameras up, and wait for their return. When they return and they call law enforcement all high and mighty, thinking that they're going to get us out, the most beautiful words I ever hear right at that point is when law enforcement tells them it's a civil matter and there's nothing we can do.
Oh, I love it so much. But, that sounds rather dangerous because, as you mentioned, even if someone doesn't have a criminal history, it doesn't mean that they won't be a criminal. It doesn't mean they won't be violent. I would have to assume that somebody that is willing to be a squatter, willing to move into the property of somebody else and set up shop, I would just have to assume that that person is not an upstanding citizen in the community. So how do you avoid this situation potentially getting violent or going completely haywire?
Well, it comes down to preparation, and I have to actually be scared of that to prepare for that. So I spend a lot of time knowing who I'm dealing with and looking at their traits. And I won't go into a situation, my team and I, first of all, I don't go by myself anymore. But we won't go into a situation that we're not clear of what the factors are. One of the big things also is we try to catch them outside to where they aren't inside with maybe a gun or knives or access to things. And they're also caught off guard. If I can approach a squatter the first time anyone's ever approached them, they're not expecting it. They're expecting that they're getting away with something, they're living their lives. And the difference between a squatter being arrested or not, in many cases, comes down to possession. If I can have possession and be in the home and they're in the driveway making a fool of themselves on camera, they're the ones that get arrested.
So you said that you work with the homeowners, you get a lease, and then this becomes a civil matter again. But I'm sure it's different in every state. But this squatter, I believe it in some places, New York, you got to be in there for 30 days. If they're in there for 30 days and you've been in there for 12 hours, do they, in some twisted systems like liberal states, do they then say, well, I've been squatting longer, so I've been here for, 4 months, and this guy just came in today. So in the court of law, whatever that means anymore, are they able to edge you out and actually lay claim to this property?
Not at the time. They would have to go through the civil process and prove to the judge that they were in there and that they were a legal tenant. At that point, they'd have to prove that they paid rent, that they were actually a tenant. Once they give up possession, if civil process hasn't already started, once they give up possession and I maintain possession or gain possession, then the process is basically flipped on them.
Yeah. Can you tell me about a certain situation, maybe in all of these that you've done, what the reaction was, if you ever did deal with, a violent squatter, or if you had anybody that was, I'm sure, strung out on drugs? Like, I can only imagine the things that you've seen. Can you tell me one of those stories? I'm sure you have quite a few.
Yeah, there was a clip that you just showed right now that was a squatter. Her name is Claudia Alva. It's in Culver City, California. She posed as a caregiver for an 88-year-old woman. She actually climbs in and out of the window. She doesn't care when we cut power, we cut access to the rest of the house. She basically boarded herself into a bedroom, doesn't care about her lifestyle, her living conditions. She's waiting for this woman to pass away so she can take the home. So she's willing to climb in and out of a bedroom window. And in the video on Outside the Box with Flash, you can see and hear her reaction, and she's just, she's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'd imagine belligerent. It's just so interesting, the energy that some people will put into taking the property of others. And I'd have to think that with that amount of energy and, in some situations, creativity, that they could maybe go get a job, a gainful employment, and then maybe pay for a residence of their own. But maybe I'm just being a crazy conservative thinking that might be an option for some people rather than taking over the property of others. But there's also been a lot of back and forth about the lock changing. This has been happening in New York, where homeowners, the actual homeowner will go in and change the locks, like, hey, this person's squatting, I can't get anybody to do anything about it, it's a civil matter, well, I'm just going to go in and change the locks then. And there was a recent instance where the homeowner themselves, they were actually arrested because they changed the friggin' locks on their own property. Tell me how you deal with that and what that whole mess is about.
Yeah, homeowners are never presumed the residents. So that's the important thing to remember. So if there's a homeowner and a tenant, the tenant will always have all the rights. Homeowners are forbidden for self-help, which means that they cannot change the locks. Because I go in as a tenant, me changing the locks with possession is a little bit different. All I'm trying to do is just even the balance and basically be able to tell law enforcement, please tell them it's a civil matter. I'm willing to have them go through that process. They have every right to go through that process if they can prove legal tenancy. So far, it's never happened.
Do they ever show up in court? Have you ever had that instance where they're that confident in themselves?
It's never even gotten to the point where there's any process whatsoever. They have no choices and they know.
Yeah, it's wild too because, there was recently an illegal immigrant TikToker from Venezuela who said, hey, listen, this is a great opportunity for my fellow illegal immigrants to start squatting in homes. This is our next business venture. I'd imagine as people catch on to the fact that some states have done nothing about it, that this is going to become more of a problem. It's been a big problem in California. It's been a big problem with Airbnbs. People, legitimately getting an Airbnb and then refusing to leave for a long period of time. I have a feeling this is only going to get worse. You worked with Governor DeSantis in Florida on basically reforming this whole system so squatters, in fact, don't really have rights. Talk to me about that and what your conversations with the Florida governor were like.
Well, I mean, it's, I was honored to be a part of that and to be able to speak there. And, Governor DeSantis is on the right page. And I think, one of the things I asked for was just clear distinction between squatters and tenants and allowing tenants to maintain their rights while making squatting a criminal offense. And that is clear there now. And I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to and hope to meet with all forms of government, governors, presidents, and just be able to set politics aside, come together for the people, and just make what's right.
Have you talked with anybody on the other side of the issue, somebody that's advocating for so-called squatters' rights? Because, you'd think that this would be a pretty easy thing, a no-brainer, but there are some people that, in fact, don't have brains, seemingly. So what have they said to you? People that are like, no, squatters have rights, they should be able to overtake someone's property. Have you had any of those conversations, and what is their rationale?
Well, I mean, in the masses, they're ignorant. I mean, the ignorancy is amazing to me. There's this presumption that a homeowner is rich, that a homeowner is wealthy, and a homeowner doesn't, they don't need this extra property and they shouldn't have an income. There's this whole, society out there that believes in things that just don't make sense. But, as far as this goes, it's just, it's hard to have an actual conversation with someone who won't listen to reality and talking about it as though it doesn't exist or it's a small thing. The United Nations has estimated over 1 billion worldwide. This is a big thing. I was recently at a party. There was about 20 people there, small little going away party. 3 people had current squatters at that moment, just because my friend was like, hey, do you know who this guy is? So I welcome it. I've got some people working on trying to, make an introduction with Governor Newsom. I think that would be a good step for me. I would love to be able to sit there at a table and go back and forth and have him try to justify why this is okay.
Well, be careful because he's slimy, and I can pretty much bet you that he'll make a case for it. They also want homeless people to take over the stoops and the sidewalks and the beaches. So it's interesting to me that good, decent people are constantly being driven to the brink of sanity because of people that are truly insane and lawmakers that for some reason find that property rights and individual rights just don't seem to matter. But for my audience out there, people that are like, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with this issue. I want this guy to help me. What can I do? Where can people find you or find people like you to get this process started so they can turn the tables on these freeloading losers?
Well, I think, go to squatterhunters.com. You can follow my YouTube on Outside the Box with Flash. Actually, the influence helps me most of the time get squatters out. But I would say call law enforcement. But as soon as they say there's nothing we can do, don't call an attorney first. Contact me. Let's do a Zoom. Let me break down your situation and see how we can help you. I'm building a team nationwide. I have law enforcement backing me, judges backing me. It's amazing. Law enforcement, I've got active and retired law enforcement saying that they have had to turn their backs on homeowners for years, and some of them saying their entire career, and that I'm finally giving them an opportunity to be able to help a homeowner.
Oh, I love to hear it. I'm sure those law enforcement officers feel really helpless in that situation, with this situation and many others that they've been neutered because of politicians who don't have the back of decent people. But Flash, thank you for all that you do. It's entertaining, but it's also such important work. Didn't think we'd have to be in this position where we'd have to have a squatter hunter, but here we are. God bless you for all you're doing, and thank you for joining me.
Well, thanks for having me. Good to meet you.
God bless, Flash. All right, that does it for this week of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. But before I sign off, I just want to say thank you to law enforcement officers around the nation who have been tasked with parenting and babysitting the brat college kids who have descended on campuses in the name of Islamic terrorism. May God protect you, your eyes, your nostrils, as I can only imagine what this week has been like for you. I also want to wish my dad a very happy birthday today. But from Nashville, God bless and take care.
Tomi Lahren is Fearless is presented by American Financing. American Financing has helped thousands of customers save real money and put themselves into a better financial position. Call today and see what they can do for you. 866-890-8585 or visit americanfinancing.net.